This is why Shane Gillis refused the Tom Brady roast.
The roast was crazy.
The roast was really fun.
That was, man.
I'm so glad I didn't do it. When Kim Kardashian was getting, she got booed, which it was kind of sad.
With the recent release of the Tom Brady roast on Netflix and the monsoon of dialogue surrounding the event, a lot of people have been asking questions about the roast and the lineup and why certain comedians such as Shane Gillis were not included on the roast roster. I mean, after all, Shane Gillis, out of all the younger comedians in their 30s, is arguably the hottest rising star, given all of his success in the last several years, including a successful Netflix comedy special, his Saturday Night Live monologue after losing his job in 2019, and also the recent announcement of his show Tires being picked up by Netflix as well. If you're curious as to why Shane Gillis was not on the roast of Tom Brady, and also some of the highlights as well as the worst moments of the roast, then you've come to the right place. I will be discussing why Shane chose not to do the roast, and I'll also be discussing some of my favorite and not so favorite parts of it. If that sounds interesting to you, then let's hop right into it and get down to the nitty-gritty details. To begin with, Shane Gillis and Matt McCusker recently talked about the roast of Tom Brady on Matt and Shane's secret podcast, because if you don't know, even though Shane wasn't on the roster, he actually sat pretty close to the front row of the event when it took place at the Kia Forum in Inglewood, California during the Netflix is a Joke comedy festival. However, as they're talking about the roast in this podcast episode, Shane expresses that he's deeply thankful that he did not accept the invitation to be on the roast. I'll play that for you here.
The roast was crazy.
The roast was really fun.
That was, man.
I'm so glad I didn't do it.
Yeah.
That whole ride over, when we were driving to it, I was like, thank fucking God I'm not performing on this. It was so nerve-wracking. There's so many fucking hot celebs.
There's so many hot celebs.
I'd be so afraid to perform in front of the hot celebs.
So Shane says that he would have been nervous given all of the hot celebrities that were in the audience. In addition to that, Shane talks about one of the rougher parts of the roast to watch, which was when Kanye's ex went up and told jokes and she was immediately booed by the crowd of people the second she reached the podium. Shane proceeds to talk about how bad he felt for her and how it made him even happier that he didn't do the roast.
When Kim Kardashian was getting, she got booed, which it was kind of sad.
Yeah.
Made me sad.
That's like a throwback boo, though. I was telling you, it was so hot like 9 years ago to be like, fucking Kardashians.
Yeah.
It was just a thing you did. But I was just sitting there being like, there is something sinister in the air, and I couldn't put my finger on it. I was like, I for real felt like it was a black mass. I was like,
that's why I didn't do it.
So from the sounds of it, Shane was asked by Netflix or one of the producers for the Tom Brady roast if he wanted to be a part of it, but he declined the offer. This poses an important question of why would Shane not want to participate in the event despite him thinking the event was a lot of fun? I mean, conceivably, it could be a great opportunity for him to get more and more exposure on Netflix, especially before his show launched on May 23rd. It totally makes sense that he was asked to do the roast when you consider his active relationship with Netflix. He then talked about how he felt when he did the roast of Louis J. Gomez back at Skankfest years ago and how it was fun, but how he did not enjoy being mean to his friends.
Even the Lewis roast, I had a lot of fun doing it, but it's like, I don't want to do that again.
No.
And those were my friends, and that's not even that funny to make fun of your friends as hard as you can in front of everyone.
The Skanks roast was, that is the Skanks, they're doing that kind of stuff all the time, and it was fun, but I do get it. It's like, dude, I don't want to do that again. And also, like, if you guys slam me, I'm going to fucking spaz.
I'm going to spaz.
Don't slam me.
I'm going to smile with tears in my eyes and go, yeah, that was really funny.
So even though he enjoyed Skankfest and the roast, he never wanted to do it again because of how mean it felt to roast his friends and how he also didn't want to be on the receiving end of it when sitting down after the fact. If you go on YouTube and you watch the roast of Louis J. Gomez, you can instantly tell that Shane is not taking the roast seriously with a lot of his jokes, including his opening joke being about how the roast itself is gay.
I don't have much, because this is gay.
This is very reminiscent of the time Norm Macdonald treated the roast of Bob Saget with the utmost irreverence and made fun of it, which I just made a video about if you're interested and want to learn more about that. Furthermore, it makes sense why Shane wasn't feeling the roast after hearing his explanation. It actually is very similar to the reason that Norm Macdonald gave when he initially said he didn't want to do the roast of Bob Saget because Bob was his friend.
Saget said, "Can you come and roast me?" And Saget's like a really nice guy. And I said, I don't know, man. He goes, come on. I don't know why he kept pushing it. So,
Yeah.
The reason is pretty much exactly the same for both situations. Additionally, another comedian who was asked about the Tom Brady roast publicly was Billy Redhead Burr on the Dan Patrick Show. Dan asked Bill, given the opportunity, if he would have done the roast, and Bill says he would not have done it. And his reason for it is very interesting.
If you were asked, would you have been on the dais to roast Tom Brady?
No, I wouldn't.
Because
I feel like that's what happened to him during his career. I don't think I ever saw anybody achieve the level that he achieved while getting all of this crap. So I had no interest in giving this guy any more crap than he did. And then all the ugly bastards out there were all excited when his marriage went south because they can't even approach the local hottie in a towny bar, and it makes them feel better.
I do have to say that Bill Burr sounded a lot like a grumpy old man there at the end, hollering about ugly people being jealous. But besides that, it makes sense why he wouldn't want to do the roast, even though Bill Burr himself has numerous clips of him roasting and putting people on the spot that have gone viral on YouTube many different times. Now that we've gotten past that, and why Shane Gillis refused to do the roast of Tom Brady, I will share some of my favorite parts of the roast of Tom Brady, since I had a few subscribers mention it in the comments. My favorite roaster of the night was by far and without a doubt Tony Hinchcliffe. I think he had a lot of solid roasts, and you could tell he's naturally gifted at writing mean lines about people and delivering it very, very smoothly. I have not watched a lot of his stand-up comedy myself, but what I saw from him at the roast was exuberant and very fun to watch. Definitely the strongest roaster of the night. I also really enjoyed Andrew Scholl's and Nikki Glazer's performances. I know Andrew Scholl's has gotten a little bit of hate from the comedy commentary community lately for some of his cringe opinions, but I don't think anybody is above posting cringe occasionally, so if that's the worst he does, that's totally forgivable. Andrew Scholl's had a joke about Dana White from the UFC putting immigrants in cages, and I don't want to spoil the joke, but I think that was my favorite joke of the entire night. If you haven't seen it, you should definitely check it out. He also just has a very unique sense of timing when delivering these roast jokes, and also in his own stand-up comedy. All of that combined just made it really enjoyable to listen to. Also, Nikki Glazer had a lot of really solid jokes in her roast, and she also came off as incredibly likable in her stage presence and delivery. I know there's a lot of memes on the internet about funny female comedians. I genuinely enjoyed this part of the roast, and I think if you watched it for yourself and gave her a chance, you might find yourself really enjoying this roast as I did. There was also an interesting moment that caught news headlines about Jeff Ross making a joke about Robert Kraft. If you don't know, Jeff Ross made a joke about an alleged scandal involving Robert Kraft, and this was apparently one of the joke topics that was listed as off limits for Tom Brady. When Jeff Ross made the joke, Tom Brady stood up, walked over to the podium, and whispered in his ear, "Don't say that shit again." In my opinion, if you're going to have a comedy roast about yourself, I don't really think anything should be off limits. Saying that's Jeff Ross probably just made a lot more people find out about the alleged scandal that Robert Kraft was a part of. And also, he just told the joke, so of course he's not going to say it again. There were parts of the roast that I skipped though. For example, I did not watch Ben Affleck's section because I don't care what the dude does outside of movies, and I also skipped Kim Kardashian's section as well. Last but certainly not least, it would seem the internet's least favorite part of the roast was the presentation given by Tom Segura and Bert Kreischer. I'm going to be as polite as I can and say that this was the hardest part of the roast for me to watch. I really didn't find myself laughing at all at this part. Not to mention, Netflix reposted this segment of the roast on their YouTube channel, and the comments are absolutely brutal. If you read some of these comments, they do not hold back at all. The top comment actually references Shane Gillis and how he should have been on the roast instead of Bert Kreischer. It hurts me just to read these comments about Tom and Bert. Also, I haven't read them yet, but I imagine if you check out the comments of Two Bears One Cave's newest episode about the Tom Brady roast, they will not be nice. I'll show a few here on the screen, but if I had to guess, I have a really bad feeling about where these are going. In sum, if you ask me if the Tom Brady roast is worth the watch, I would probably tell you it's one of the best roasts I've seen in a long time. The bar isn't necessarily super high for that, but I would say that there's high highs and low lows, and there's probably something that everybody can take away from this and really enjoy. You also get to see some of the best football players of all time make fun of each other in a lighthearted way if you're a sports fan. Anyway, what did you guys think? Have you seen the roast of Tom Brady? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Were you sad to see Shane Gillis wasn't a part of the roast? What comedians would you have liked to see at the roast, and what people do you think the roast could have gone without? I'd love to hear what you guys think in the comments down below. If you liked the video, make sure to give me a thumbs up and subscribe if you're new. I've got some bonus content on the Patreon if you want to support me further, but all in all, this was why Shane Gillis refused the Tom Brady roast.